Welcome to the Tansson Talks show. I'm Brandon, the host of the show, and I always love doing this. This is our 130th episode, and we're excited to celebrate with our guest here today, Cal. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you. And so, first of all, how is your day going thus far?
It's been pretty good, honestly. I'm a little bit under the weather today, but I was able to go for a walk, and so that was nice to start my morning. Got a nice workout in, so feeling good. How about you?
I'm doing well. I just got my voice back a few hours ago, and so I'm overall excited for our conversation.
As well.
Yeah, and so if you're able to go ahead and introduce yourself for the watching and listening audience, so we can go ahead and get started.
Absolutely. So my name's Cal Zweigel. I'm currently a social media intern for a company called Torque Robotics. I'm a recent graduate from East Carolina University. I got my master's in strategic communication. And then I also graduated my bachelor's from East Carolina University in communication and public relations. So, that's kind of what I've been up to for the past 4 years or so. I'm always busy, but I'm happy to grow, connections wise. And I'm also just always interested in growing intellectually. So that's where I'm at right now.
I love that, and massive congratulations on both of your degrees.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was a long time and it was a hard work, but glad to be done. Very glad.
I'm glad to hear it. Out of curiosity, how long did it take you overall for both of your programs?
Uh, it was so I transferred in. So originally I was at ASU online, and so um, I had roughly 2 years worth of credits done, roughly, but it was going to be, I think, about 86 credits to finish my bachelor's. So I was still stubborn and committed to doing it in 2 years. And so I went full summers, 18 credit semesters, to the walls. So I was going as hard as I could. And so it took me 2 years to finish my bachelor's, and then I did an accelerated program for the master's, and that took me one more year exactly since graduation of my bachelor's. So yeah, 3 years for all of that, and then yeah, finished up.
Wow, I mean that's nevertheless impressive. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it was something that I don't really think about that often, but I've been in college courses since 2017 because I was doing courses through high school. And so, finally reaching the finish line with that was a sigh of relief for sure.
I would imagine as such. I mean, I know for myself having just finished my master's program last year, right after the bachelor's. I mean, it's one of those things where you like. I don't know. It's both normal and abnormal at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, congrats to you as well.
Thank you.
I feel like we're on a similar path in some ways, which is kind of cool. But yeah, it just felt like, at least like going for the masters, it felt like a natural progression for me because I had only been at the school for like 2 years, and I really only had like 1 year of knowing all my professors and knowing all my classmates really well. So I kind of just took it as an opportunity to dig in a little bit deeper, take more chances, and just make sure that I stood out on resumes and experience wise, because that's really hard to do, especially with communication degrees these days. Like if you don't have things to stand out, then it's just really rough sledding. So that's what I was really going.
Well, I'm so glad. I mean that you're able to figure everything out and be able to accomplish everything in such a relatively short time. And I know we'll speak about that a little bit later in our discussion, but I know that we had discussed some topics and some questions, and I'm excited for us to dive right into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so I did want to, I guess, continue with the topic a little bit of graduating. So how does it feel to actually be graduate now, having done all of those credits in such a short time? Now that you're no longer a student, like, how does that feel?
I mean, it's a little bit weird. I would, I don't want to lie and say it's not weird, because that has been my reality for so long, and especially since I did summers all the way up until the end. For my last like two classes, I did those over the summer, and so I was I was going. So it's a little bit weird, but it's definitely been more peaceful. Deleting Canvas off of my phone and off of everything was a crazy feeling. I can't even describe it. I remember I posted about it when it happened. I was like, this is crazy because it had almost been, like I said, 10 years of school and all of that, and it's just like, wow, we're here. So it's, it's great to be done, but it's also just, that was a lot of work, and now we have the next part of life, which is, professional life, and easing into that, or maybe not easing is the best word, but jumping into it, right? And so that's kind of where I've been right now, and that's an adjustment for sure. But I think since I went so hard in the paint, right? I feel like I really prepared myself for just jumping right into projects, jumping into meetings, all of that. I felt more ready than I was when I graduated with my bachelor's, for sure. So definitely thankful for the master's and the experience that I got out of that, since I did a lot of interesting things. I was a graduate teaching assistant for the fall semester of last year as a graduate student, and that was definitely a challenge. And so that prepared me for a lot more challenges that have come since then. Um, and I mean, it was very rewarding, but it was, I need to go up and speak in front of 50 students that are, were in my classes last year, and it's like, wow, you know, what are you gonna do with that? And I was like, I don't know. So, figured it out on the fly, but also just, it was such a good opportunity. So a lot of memories with that, and I was also able to study abroad when I was in school, and so like that was really awesome. And we'll dive more into that later, but that was such a great experience.
Well, that's amazing. I'm so glad that you had so many diversified experiences. And out of curiosity for your graduate teaching assistantship, so how was that for you being able to do that while also, yeah, studying yourself in your program? I mean, I know for myself that was quite a tightrope trying to, yeah, to manage both at the same time, being like on the instructional side and as a student. So how was it for you?
Yeah, candidly, very difficult. It was very difficult. I was teaching PR principles with one professor that I knew really well. And then I was also teaching gender and communication, which was one of the highest level classes, like a 4,000 level class, with another professor that I knew really well. So there were positives and negatives to having relationships with those professors, because there was no introduction of who I am. They knew who I was because they taught me previously. And so that was really cool, but also, it's a different version of myself because I'm now in a teaching role. And so how am I going to prepare? How am I going to challenge myself? Um, and then, also I was doing 3 classes while doing that. And so that was a challenge. And, in one of those classes, I didn't do as well as I wanted to. And I actually ended up dropping one of the classes. So I only did 2 classes that semester just because it was a little bit much. And so I ended up still getting the 10 classes I needed to finish in time. And so that's why I was able to drop that at that point. But yeah, it was a big challenge for sure.
And since you mentioned, yeah, dropping that one class, was that your first experience having to do that? I mean, for your academic career?
It was the second one. The first one that I did, I was in a Spanish 2 class that I had somehow tested into. And then my advisor told me that I no longer needed it. So I was like, and I was already a month into it. I was like, why am I here? So I just dropped it.
Well, I have no complaints towards that. I know that for me trying to do languages in high school, I mean that was a challenge in and of itself. So I don't blame you at all for that. That and math.
Yeah. I mean, I've gotten started on many languages. Like I did some Latin, some Greek, some ASL, some Spanish, a little bit of everything. And then most recently I did a good amount of Polish, which Polish is definitely the hardest one that I've done. Um, but I have never done any of them further. And so I think that as I get older, I want to dive deeper into that, especially ASL. I think I want to do more ASL. That's always been such a cool thing.
Well, that's certainly exciting. And I mean, even progressing forward, of course, now you are fully into your internship. And how has that been, for you overall? And how long have you been in it?
Yeah, so it's been excellent. So let me give a little bit of background as to who Torque is. Torque is commercializing self-driving trucks for safe, sustained long-haul innovation in the freight industry. So that's a wordy way to say that they're making self-driving trucks that are going to be very useful in the future. And so I'm their social media intern right now, but that's really a title that doesn't explain really what I do because I wear a lot of different hats for them. And I really like it that way because I get to just sharpen so many different skills. So I've been able to work for their internal teams, for their external teams. I've been able to do things that I just never thought I would be in the room for. And so that's been awesome. And it's just been a wonderful opportunity to just, grow my skills, test my skills, show my skills, and then just also gain more abilities. I mean, I'm working with technology and that I've never worked with before. I've, gotten to become a wizard on Asana, which is a project management software, and I love it. So there's all kinds of things that I've been able to do with that, and it's just been awesome. So yeah, excellent opportunity so far.
I love that. And out of curiosity, I mean, taking sort of a step back, so I guess how was it for you? I mean, even finding out about the opportunity. I mean, did you seek it out, or did they seek you out? Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, so it was at a PRSSA meeting in undergrad. I think it was about 2 years ago, January, I want to say. And we had an alumni, Laura Lawton. She's the director of external communication for Torque. And so she's also an ECU alum, as I said, and a PRSSA alum. And so she came in to basically tell us what Torque is, what she does. And, I introduced myself. I gave her my contact information immediately. And I stayed as a warm contact. And so, I was a little bit I was like, this is a really cool opportunity. I want to stick with it. And I was really learning at that point what it meant to communicate with purpose and to reach out to people with intention of following up. And so that was still just sharpening that skill. And thankfully, she was gracious enough to be a positive contact. And so when I applied, I shot her a text and I got an interview the next day. So, yeah.
That I mean, that's pretty astonishing, right there. And how long ago was it that you had sent that message?
Oh, I think December 2024. So it was about almost a year since I had met her in the first place. I actually had seen the position before, but I was a TA at that time, and I sent her the contact information for someone else, and then it didn't work out. And then I was like, "Hey, I can do it," and then the rest is history.
Well, I'm glad that that was all able to work out, and I guess not for the person that you'd recommend, but at least it worked out for you.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
it was definitely, it was a great opportunity, and I truly enjoy what I get to do every day. So it's awesome.
I love that. I mean, I'm so glad. I mean, that you have a chance. And did you? How much did you really know? I mean, before, well, one applying, but then backtracking a little bit, even before you'd gotten the contact, like especially for this sort of realm of being within both like the tech side and also with new and emerging tech at that. I mean, this just sounds really cool and interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know a whole lot about Torque prior to her coming to PRSSA. She also was in one of my classes, and so she presented for one of my classes, and so it was an excellent opportunity to kind of just get to know um, more about the company. I did a whole lot of research on it. I looked into their website. I looked into their CEO. I looked into every social media platform that they were on, and I wanted to know, number one, if they're legit, which they are, and number two, if this was an opportunity that I was going to be able to take. Um, and for every opportunity that I've looked into, previously as well, like just to encourage everybody out there, like do your homework, know what you're talking about because it really makes a difference. I was able to go into that interview with pointed questions. I was able to bring up knowledge that I learned from their website, from their social media. And it shows, most importantly, that you care, most importantly. And secondly, it shows that you know what you're talking about as well. So yeah, definitely research is huge, and knowing how to research. That's what school's all for, right? But applying it now is like, oh wait, that's why I did all that.
How was it even shifting from? I mean, since you mentioned doing the homework and doing your research, shifting from the academic learning about it to then needing to apply it in your, of course, application process, but now even in your internship and being in it for a few months now.
Honestly, it felt like a pretty normal, like organic connection, because the projects, and like credit to ECU, I think that they gave us a lot of practical projects to work on, especially with our capstones and then the graduate program. So I was able to apply a lot of things that I've already done before, whether that was setting up smart goals, or setting up content plans, or marketing strategies, or doing competitor research, or whatever it was. I'd already done a version of it, and so now I think the best opportunity is just to sharpen your skills. And then that's kind of just that's just what it is. And so just turning the skills that I've learned in school into what I'm doing now is that's what it's for.
Well, I love that. And overall, what would you say have been like some of your favorite parts of being an intern? Like, what does your sort of day to day look like? Of course, as much as you can say.
Yeah. So I think my favorite part is the team that I work with. We have an extremely talented Marcoms team. So whether that's Amber on social media, or Jason with videography, photography, or even Laura, as I mentioned earlier, with external communication, PR, I get to learn from them every single day, and it's really awesome. And just building and nurturing those relationships has also been really great, because of course, I came in as a green bean to the industry, to even a lot, in a lot of ways, social media. Like I'd done some things, but there's nothing that really replaces or meets working with a brand that has hundreds of thousands of followers. All of a sudden, everything matters a lot more, right? And so the team has been awesome, and just yeah, it's been great. I just really enjoy it. So I guess that's my favorite part. And I'm sorry, what was the last question? You said what was my day to day?
Yeah, like what's your day to day
Yeah.
like?
So day to day, I start my day around 7 a.m., maybe 6:45, depending. And I have a small breakfast, something with protein in it, and then I will go to the gym, work out till about 8 a.m. Come home 8 a.m. My day starts with work, and so I go from 8 till 4. And during my day, I will have various meetings with different teams, and then I'll just get plugged in on my projects. I'll do social listening through different social media channels. I will schedule posts on various platforms, and just kind of every plan and everything that goes through all of these different campaigns, all of these different hands, all of these different eyes. And so whatever I'm doing each day just kind of depends, because there's so many different projects that I'm working on. And so one week I'm focused on revamping their media kit, which is available on their website, by the way. You can check it out, it's pretty cool. um, and the next, like, I'm doing competitor research, and I'm doing social media scouring. So it really just keeps me on my feet. It gives me opportunity to just sharpen my skills. Um, it took a while to get adjusted, because it is such a unique market of autonomy and self-driving trucks. But at this point, through many newsletters, through a lot of research, I've got a decent handle. Could be better, of course, but I've got a decent handle on what is going on in that space. And I think that really helps, just diving into it. So each day is a little bit different, but also I've got my routines, and I also heavily, heavily rely on project management software. It is a lifesaver, and I get to make all of my to-do lists in organized spaces, and I don't miss anything. So it's awesome.
Well, I love that you're able, like I said, to truly, I mean, dive into the research and get involved with, the teams and everything. And as for myself, as someone that uh, is a research enthusiast at heart and that loves the tech space, I definitely am in awe of what you're able to do and see in a day to day. And so, have you been able to create some sort of like normalcy within your schedule now, or how long did it take you to sort of get that your general day to day routine down pat?
Um, it's gone through some evolutions. So the first day to day that I got used to was when I was still in school. So this internship started in February. I still had school all the way up until, um, like what is it, April, June. And so I had that schedule of classes and work and when I was working and all of that. And then it evolved once I got back from Poland. So I did a study abroad to finish my graduate program in Poland again, and Czech Republic. So that was awesome. But they graciously gave me the time to be able to do that. And so when I came back, that shifted again because now I was done with school officially, except for a couple of papers, which I finally finished and sent those in. But I was done, and so my time was so much more than I had had previous to that, and so I didn't have to block it out quite so rigorously. But just getting me into that type of routine, and then I moved from Greenville, North Carolina, to Greensboro, North Carolina, and so then it shifted again when I moved. So just a lot of different adjustments. I think that the best routine that I've gotten into is the one I'm currently in, which is that the working out, the eating properly, the fueling your body and mind. And so it's taken probably up till now to the best version, but I think it just depends when you look at it. But definitely happy with where I am right now. So that's a big plus.
Well, I'm glad that you are able to listen to have that normalcy in there, and now that you have, what is it, are several months into your internship, we're about to close out 2025. Are there any pieces of advice that you would want to give to those tuning in about internships? And have you done any internships prior to this one?
Yeah, so I didn't have any official internships prior to this one, but I did work for Starbucks as a shift supervisor. And so I worked for Starbucks for about 5 years. I was a shift supervisor all the way through my time at ECU. Um, and so, I took every opportunity I could to gain leadership skills with that and to gain communication skills, especially in crazy times at Starbucks. As if there's anybody that's ever worked for Starbucks that's listening, they'll know. Um, it gets crazy, and so learning from every opportunity I could with that. I tried to do some things with like promotional materials with them as much as I could. There wasn't a whole lot that I had that I could do, but alongside that, I also got to work with Chris Calderon. So he also works for Starbucks, and so we were able to work on this project, Hidden Leaf Farm and Foundation. And so that is a regenerative farm that is in Greenville, North Carolina. And I've just been able to help him build that brand and build that organization. And so, from working with a friend on logo creation to website to, marketing plan to all kinds of different places, and to do that pro bono, but it's just also something that's going to invest in my future later on. But really how I look at it is like I'm building a portfolio, I'm building experience, and these are things that I'm never going to get a better opportunity to do. So might as well do it, and so just taking every opportunity that I had, because again, I didn't have internships, I didn't have all the accolades, I had to support myself through school. I didn't have time for especially unpaid internships, which there's a lot of out there. And then in Greenville, North Carolina, there's not that many options internship wise, and so yeah, I just had to work with what I had. And so the advice that I would give to people is just to grind and to work at whatever you can. If that's working at cookout, that's help out with marketing materials. If that's doing whatever you're doing, just try and find ways to make the best of your situation and gain skills, because skills are like one of the most important parts, and you can prove skills when you have something to prove them with. It's really hard to prove your skills with just here's the paper I wrote, or here's the presentation I made on Canva. It's a little bit harder until it's official with either a brand or someone's reputation. It mattered. And so finding ways to make content that matters is really important. So that's the advice.
I love that. And I certainly like how you said, I mean, making the most of those opportunities. And I mean, and I know for myself, even that there's so many opportunities I think that come up on a regular, day to day, or even in your life right now, that even if they're not the most ideal, that it might be, if I'm already doing this, might as well take the extra step, get the most of any opportunity that I have right now. Because I mean, it may never come back.
Definitely. I mean, there's so many opportunities, and I'm a firm believer that what you look for, you'll find. Good or bad, that's how it is, and you can find both, but just take the opportunities that are given to you, and just dive head first. Just might as well, especially when you're in school. Like there's it feels like you're risking a lot, but you're not. Like you're really not. You're risking messing up, and like that's the best thing for you at that time. You can learn. That's what school is for. That's what that time in life is for. So go for it.
That is so true. And what would you even say, going back to what you were just saying, would even be the best way of making the most of an internship for someone who maybe is just starting and trying to sort of, I guess, map out what they want to do over the course of the internship or opportunity?
Yeah, I think you just gotta go in with a mindset of I'm going to dive in head first. I'm going to learn as much as I can, asking as many questions as I need. Not too many, I guess. You don't want to make people annoyed with you in the first week, or whatever. But dive in. Try and make yourself useful. Try and make yourself helpful, and understand that you're definitely not going to know everything. 100%. Just 100%. You will not know everything, but that's okay. Because internships, and a lot of people don't realize this, and I didn't realize this at first. The intern role is made for you to be able to make mistakes. And it's obviously, you don't want to make a habit out of big ones, but it's to prove to yourself, to them, to whoever, that you can make them, grow from them, and improve. And so the more you put yourself into situations to grow, the more that you put yourself into hard situations where you're like, I don't know how to do this, the more you can grow, and the more opportunities will present themselves going forward. And it's just a huge opportunity. So dive in head first. You know, just when I get a project, I try my hardest, and it's not every project, and I'll own up to it, but I try my hardest to finish that project and be able to hand something to someone else, whoever's in charge, and for them to be like, wow, that's my goal. It's whatever I can do to give them something that they would be impressed with, and also something that is worth, the time that they invested in me to make it. So have that as a goal, have that as your motivation of like, how can I make something worth it, and how can I grow?
I love that. And I mean, I think even looking for, for making sure, of course, you always do, your best work, and making sure that you're able to have that, that wow factor. I think, I mean, at least to me, is always so important, especially because, well, one, as somewhat of a overachiever, if you will, that, it provides a little bit of satisfaction, but also too that by being able to give your best work and by putting your name on it, I think that solidifies this is the absolute best I can do, and let's see what you think of it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even if it doesn't birth a an opportunity with the organization you're with right now, it can birth conversations and interviews of how did you deal with a difficult situation, or a project that was unexpected, or whatever comes up. You have recent quality product. and you can show that if they want to see it. But more importantly, you can just talk about it because no one else can talk about your experience like you can. And so, yeah, it's a wonderful opportunity to be in an internship position and to constantly look for opportunities to do new difficult things.
Absolutely. And for the most part, like for your work experience, have you largely worked in more like in person environments or virtual environments, a little mixture of both?
It's so with Starbucks, of course, that was in person. With my TA position, I had one class in person, one class online. And then, of course, for Torque now, it is fully remote. So I've had a little bit of everything. I think where I'm at right now, it definitely has pros and cons. But I love the opportunity to have such a strong daily routine. You know, as I referenced earlier, like waking up early, getting to the gym early, you know, having a chance to shower and then start at work. That's just awesome. Like I don't have to drive anywhere. That's great, you know. So I really enjoy that. I enjoy the flexibility that can come with that. Of if I'm in a different state in a different place, like I can still work, and it's not going to affect that. So that's really wonderful. I think there's also downsides. Um, Biggest one being socializing. I probably don't socialize quite enough. I do try and get out to like farmers markets every weekend, or try and just get out there and do stuff. Right. I'm trying to become a regular at my local comic book shop, Acme Comics. Shout out in downtown Greensboro. They're awesome, but you know it's hard to like I can't really meet people at the gym as much. Not a lot of people want to talk with at the gym. Like my headphones are on, your headphones are on. We don't really want to do that. So just finding opportunities for that. I think that there's definitely benefits to working in a in-person or hybrid position. I think hybrid's probably like the dream. Um, because it's everything. It gives you flexibility, it gives you socialization, it gives you a little bit of everything. So, I'm happy with where I am, and we'll see what happens in the future. But yeah, so it's been a little bit of a challenge, but you know, you just kind of work with what's offered to you as well.
Well, I'm glad that at the very least you're making the most of it. And would you say that when you had just started, I mean, even working in a remote environment, would you say that the initial part of it was more of a like a benefit or a hindrance for you?
Hmm. I think I have a unique situation, being that prior to college I was homeschooled. And so I have always been in a situation where I need to be a self starter and just hit the ground running. So um, for me, I think it's just been relatively normal. I really enjoy socializing. I think that that's something, so it could potentially be a hindrance in some ways, of just like I really enjoy socializing and getting to meet people. And like I've met most of my friends from some, work experience, especially at Starbucks. I've made great friends through Starbucks. So, um, but I think overall it's just, you deal with the hand you got, right? And I think that, I had online school exclusively with ASU, and so then, one of the biggest contributing factors to switching from ASU to ECU was that I could go in person. And so I think for an educational experience, especially for your bachelor's, it was huge that I was able to meet professors, have relationships with them, meet people for organizations like PRSSA, and just grow relationships, because some of those relationships are going to pay the biggest dividends I could possibly imagine. And I think that's one thing that strictly online schooling you really just don't get, um, is that type of connections, community, and whatever that comes with that. So I guess if anybody's debating whether or not to go to an online school or a in-person school, it depends on your major. But for communications, I think in person is definitely the way to go for at least a while. Maybe not the entire time, but at least building those connections is important. So
I mean, that's yeah, that makes complete sense. And I guess before I give my own comment to that, I did want to ask. So, how was it for you? I mean, being able to get a hands-on experience for the second, let's say the second portion of your your college experience, especially having transitioned from from homeschool and online school.
It was awesome. I really enjoyed, like I said, just all the connections, all the people that I got to meet. Um, being, you know, it's a beautiful campus at East Carolina as well, and going to football games and baseball games and just kind of being a part of that like school community. It definitely felt like a movie in a lot of ways of like this is what the movies think college is like, and ECU I'd say is very similar to what they'd say it's like. Um, it's got its own hectic side to it. I mean, there's all kinds of things and shenanigans that happen for Halloween and all that. So it was fun to be there and be in person, but um, I think the only thing that I wish I a little bit differently was that maybe either Greenville was a bigger city or I'd gone to a school that has like a bigger city around it. Especially for communication, just the lack of in-person internships and things like that was definitely tough, because there was I think one PR agency that was there that was like having interns regularly, and that was pretty much it. So that's one thing that was a little bit of a downside, but the relationships, the connections, PRSSA, those were huge. So
Well, I mean, that certainly makes a lot of sense, and I'm glad that you were at least able to get that hands-on education that that you wanted. And I did want to actually sort of go backwards a bit. So I know, as you mentioned that, that from the beginning that you were, homeschooled before even going into college. So how would you say that that help shape who you are, and then especially having added your online education on top of that before even going to East Carolina?
yeah, I mean, at the beginning of my time at ECU, it was definitely challenging. I didn't know really anyone. So I was sort of walking into every classroom with no one that I knew, surrounded by just about everyone else that was there, that was in their second year, third year, that had already been with people for a while. And so that was really difficult to really get to know people. And so I really just had to put myself out there. I had to cold introduce myself, like, hey, my name's Cal, just really go up to it. And that was not fun. But I think once I studied abroad in Poland, um, that really changed everything. I think so. That was after my first full year at ECU. That was over the summer. So I think summer 2023, and it deepened relationships that I had with the people that were there, and I think it really just changed who I was in a lot of ways. It made me have a much more global perspective on the world, on politics, on relationships, on morality, on communication in intercultural spaces, and definitely left me with a lot of soul searching while I was there and soul searching when I came back. And so um, yeah, I mean it was challenging, but it was well worth. And I think once I came back from that, I had now built a couple of relationships with people that I went there with. I had built better relationships with the professors I was there with, and then I was able to also have more friends in classrooms, and then continued that road. And so that was really helpful. It took me about a full year, and I think that a lot of people that are transfer students probably relate to that feeling of like it's really difficult to really settle in. But I think it was worth it, and definitely glad. And a lot of change happened within me during that first year, and so a lot of maturation and a lot of growth. But that's what it's all about, right? That's what it's all about. Just finding opportunities for that is college, and sometimes they find you.
Well, that part is definitely very true, and I'd definitely love for you to elaborate a little bit more on how you said that it helped shift your perspective on things like the world, politics, and in intercultural spaces. I mean, I'd love to hear your perspective, and I guess to add a second question to that. So, since you mentioned your study abroad was in Poland, so is that location what you chose, or the university chose, or I'd love to hear some of how this opportunity even came about for you.
Yeah. So I guess I'll answer the second question first. The opportunity came about because ECU has a relationship with Jagiellonian University, which is located in Krakow, Poland. And so the School of Communication and their School of Philology have a good relationship. And so, which is the study of, I believe, English um, as a language, and in different capacities. And so they're kind of studying us as like English speaking Americans, and we're studying them, as like the way in which they're communicating with the world around them, going to um, different radio stations, going to so many different places, and it was just amazing. I mean, I also went to Auschwitz, which was a very difficult experience, and so yeah, it was very challenging. I mean, it's the first trip that I went to Poland. I try not to think about quite as much as I do the second, just because genuinely there was so much that was happening, and there was so many emotions and feelings, and so much growth that was taking place. And something that I always say is that uh, growth doesn't happen without growing pains, and so it was a lot of growing pains, and so yeah, it was a beautiful experience because um, I think the pressure of the difficult conversations and the difficult situations made me a much stronger person, and so we'll forever be thankful for that. Um, but the second time around was just like fun. I got to see friends that I'd made the first time. I got to meet back with professors that I'd met the first time. I got to go back to some of the same, cafes and whatever that I'd already been to, and still know some of the language. And I have great friends there now, and so um, yeah, it was just an excellent experience the second time around, which was really nice. And I kept on telling people when I was there, I was like, I feel like I get to kind of redeem my experience by getting to go back, because that's such a rare experience to be able to go to the same place twice, especially Poland. It's not really some place that's on everybody's map. Highly recommend it. It's a beautiful place, and they have beautiful people, and yeah, I'll never ever forget those experiences.
I love that, and since you mentioned, just so I can make sure that we're on the same page, so you actually went two different times then.
Yes, yes. So I went in 2023, and then I went in this past summer, 2025. Once as a undergraduate student and once as a graduate student. So both times I was able to finish my degrees with the study abroad trip, because they both offered 6 credits of different classes, because the graduate level classes are a higher level with longer papers and different different engagements. I needed to do a presentation as well. So
Well, I'm so glad. I mean, that you were able to sort of redeem your experience the second time around, and are you glad that you were able to to go that second time? I know that you said that you were able to to grow and foster like relationships and your perspective on things, but did you have any hesitation before going into the second time?
um, a little. I did not go back to Auschwitz the second time. It was offered to me, but I felt that that was something that I didn't really want to do twice. Um, and so that was one thing that I shifted a little bit on the second route. And then I really just wanted to lean into um, just just being a different person now, 2 years separate, and being a different person with different people. um, I think that it's such a unique opportunity to be in a place where you don't understand what's happening, and you don't understand what's being said all the time, and you need to be more quiet and listen and experience, and it's very grounding. to be in your own shoes in that experience. And so yeah, it's a powerful experience, and I cannot recommend enough that if you are in school, study abroad if you can. I paid for much of it out of pocket. I saved as much as I could. Thankfully, the second time around, I was able to get a scholarship to help. Um, and so apply for scholarships too. But just I can't recommend it enough. Like it's such a powerful thing, and it truly will change your life. Um, yeah.
Well, I'm so glad, let's said, that you were able to, I mean, to have that experience and, let's said, just an overall, college experience. And do you have a favorite year that you would say, I mean, of your overall college experience and your involvements with everything?
I would definitely say the last year here. It was funny. It's like the show Friends, where everybody knows your name. Like when I would walk into my building, I would see all kinds of people that I knew, whether they were students that I was a TA for, whether they were professors, whether they were mentors or just friends. Like genuinely, every single day on campus, especially in the last semester, I couldn't go anywhere without seeing someone that I knew and saying hello. And, that was such a beautiful opportunity. So I really loved that. Being a TA was awesome. Starting the internship with Torque while still being in school was excellent. And then, capping it all off with one more trip to Poland and to Czech Republic. I mean, that was awesome. Like, I got to go to the Curzon Palace in Czech Republic, and like that was incredible as well. There was so much happening. There obviously is so much happening in the world, and they were able to address some threats to democracy across the world and what they're doing about it. And so that was excellent. Just to be there and sit in on a meeting of thousands, hundreds of people from all kinds of different countries, and just see what's happening. And so that was just an excellent opportunity. And again, I can't say enough about studying abroad and just taking that leap.
I love that. And if given the chance, would you go back to Poland and the Czech Republic?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, again, I got great friends there now, so I might not even need to get a hotel or a hostel, which we stayed in hostels for part of it, and that was actually a very nice experience.
As I say, how was that? I mean, even adapting to it, like how long overall were the study abroad experiences?
Uh, I'm sorry, you said what was the difference between the two, or
Oh, so I guess how was it for you adapting to the environment, like, and staying in the hostels, and overall, how
okay.
long was the study abroad experiences overall?
Oh yeah, it was roughly 3 weeks, like 20 something days for each one. And I mean, really great. Like the one thing that some of the meals aren't my favorite, but some of them are. Like I would do a lot of things for a kebab at late night, right? Like those are some of the best memories I have of like just walking home with some friends, stopping at a kebab shop, and they taste way different there. I don't know why. I can't find them here in the states, but they're incredible. And so just having some of that, having some Polish food or Polish beers or whatever. Just it's just awesome. I went head first. I took my own advice and I went head first, dove into it, met as many people as I could. Sometimes I cosplayed as a local and I just didn't say anything and nobody knew. I'm sure they did, but I didn't feel like they did. And sometimes you just take it in, and so all of the living arrangements and sleeping arrangements that we had were great. It was either hotels or very nice hostels, like specifically for students. So I never felt unsafe there, which was also pretty cool. Especially given everything that's happening, it's just to be so safe, feel so safe. Um, yeah, genuinely. They had a tragedy happen prior to us going there, and they took it so seriously. And that was it was such an interesting moment because it happened on one of their university campuses, and it shook the entire nation. One event, and it was one of the first events in their history to ever happen like that. And so it was just so fascinating, just because there's so many things that happen in the United States at this point that we've become rather numb in a lot of ways. And so yeah, it was fascinating, fascinating.
Wow. Well, I nevertheless am so glad that you're able to, I mean, have that safe, experience. And shifting gears a little bit, I know, of course, you're very involved with Pure SSA while you're a student. And so you're able to speak a little bit about your involvement. Like, what was some of your experience with?
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, I love PRSSA. It's such a great organization. Um, while in my time with PRSSA, I wanted to once again dive in, make the most of every opportunity that I had, and so I was able to attend the leadership assembly that was in 2024. I was able to attend Icon in Anaheim, and then I also was able to learn about the Planck Center's Emerge program, and I was able to go to Chicago. And then most recently, I was able to go to Charlotte for their 2025 leadership assembly. It's just it's given me so much. As many people as I can encourage just to join your local chapter, just do it. Just dive in, become as much of a member as you possibly can, meet as many people as you can, attend as many meetings as you can. It just is going to give to you. It's just going to give to you, and the more that you can be a part of it, the better you'll be. And I mean, I've had very many, especially right outside of graduation, very many people ask me about my relationship with PRSSA and my connection with that, and um, it pays dividends. So highly recommend joining PRSSA.
I love that. And how was it for you being able to attend, so many different events, over the course of the past few years, from leadership assemblies to Icon 2024, even the Planck Center event? I'm sure you probably ran into some of the people I've spoken with on the podcast, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I've met many of them. I think the most recent one was Hedgepeth. I got to meet him briefly. I didn't get to. I wasn't in a voting position, but I would have voted for him because I think he did an excellent job. And so, um, yeah, it's just there's been so many people I've gotten to meet. I've got so many great relationships with all of the people from PRSSA. I can't speak highly enough about the experiences that they provide, the learning opportunities that they give. Um, and it's also just like a well run organization, and you don't find that very often. And so it baffles me how much I've been able to benefit from it, and so I just want to give that to whoever I can.
I absolutely love that. And I know for myself, I mean, it's impacted me in so many different ways. And tying a little bit into what you were saying earlier about that you'd stress for communication people to be like in an in-person environment. So a little fun fact is that for majority of my bachelor's and all my master's, I was actually an online student for the whole time. And so I started off at first doing undergraduate work in person, starting college early, and I'd done do enrollment and AP classes, but in high school. But um, once March 2020 hit, that semester, which I had started in person, moved online, and I just decided to stay online for the course, transferring to my current university, or the university I graduated from. But nevertheless, I mean, I think PRSSA has truly allowed for us to gain that sort of connection and get to know people on a deeper level. I mean, even across the United States and Latin America.
Yeah, I mean it's an international organization now, and it's awesome. I mean, there's just so many great things about it. I mean, I got to meet Millie, the president, right? And I got to meet her in at the leadership assembly in 2024, and I don't believe she was in any like a role at that point. She could have been, I'm not sure, but and it was just she reached out to me prior to the event. I connected with her on LinkedIn. We had a voice, a video call prior to the event. I got to meet her then in person, and I mean, it was just like, how much more welcomed could I feel? Like that was before even going. Like that's such an incredible, it's just a testament to, the people that this organization attracts and keeps, and it's just great.
Yeah, I love that, and I'm very excited to to speak with her in person at Icon 2025. That will be a few weeks from the time of recording this. But I did want to ask too: is there anything else that we haven't had a chance to to speak about that you wanted to mention, whether about your story, some of your experiences, or even questions for me?
I guess, one of the biggest things that I want is just to encourage everyone out there to just keep pushing, keep applying for, roles, keep applying the right amount of pressure, on yourself. Like obviously not too much, but just, self-belief and determination are really important, especially given, current job markets and, the sociological, political state of the world. It's tough. It is extremely hard to wake up every day and feel like you have this. Um, so a couple things that I would recommend to really everyone is first take a break from social media. I have gotten off of Instagram and TikTok, and I just needed a break for a while. And I think that it's important for everybody to just take a moment, you know, and to reevaluate, what can I control? And that's, one of the biggest mantras that I always lean on is that I can only control myself and my perception. That's it, you know? And so, and the perception is as in like how I think and feel about things. Um, and that is it. And so just try and get as great of a hold on that as you can, and keep pushing, because good things will come to those who wait, and have some patience with yourself, and things will work out. So that's I guess what I want to say for everybody else out there, and just like, that's if I can give anybody a message. Um, and then I guess a question for you is, why did you start this podcast in the first place? And what are your, Disney World goals, biggest goals for this in the future?
Ooh, that's such a amazing question, or a double question. So, in terms of starting, I mean, the show to begin with, I had always had a interest in helping out others in any way that I can. I mean, from the very beginning, as long as I can remember, and so it's the way in which I do so has changed over the years. But I've always wanted to speak with others, see how they're personally doing, not just asking those filler questions, and even for real questions that have become filler questions in times that re-emphasizing it. You'll notice, like in my emails, I always ask, like, how are you doing, or what have you been up to? I like asking those questions because I genuinely want to know. It's not just a blank part added to my email signature. I really want to know. But I'd really been interested back in middle school with technology. I'd wanted to share some of my tech tips and tricks, and so I had started content creation at first with a YouTube channel, and then I was like, you know what, I want to start asking questions. I want to do something different. I got tired of just showing off various tips, tricks, and devices. Don't get me wrong, I love doing that. I mean, I can tell you endless ways of how like this phone is such a great device or whatever, but it didn't feel human in a sense that it, like as you were saying, like to as you're advising people to to take control, is that I wanted to bring the human side of things back in. I wanted to explore why it is that we communicate in such a way. So I had started a podcast part of my sort of content brand, being able to ask questions and speak with people, saying, okay, sure, you might like this phone, or you might enjoy gaming or this research, but why? What do you, are able to share about it, but I want it to be focused more on the people and not necessarily just the technologies. And then as it's continued progressing, not everyone was really interested in any sort of technology. It was the pandemic; it was easy to talk about, but yeah, as time went on and as I've grown and become a communication student myself, I think the focus sort of evolved with it too. And so as I've continued to learn, the podcast has continued to grow, and our conversation and the depth that we're able to do has been able to, to really foster a community. And I mean, as we're saying, like for PRSSA, I mean, quite a bit of people have been involved with that organization or other organizations I'm a part of, or friends of friends. And so we're building a little community. We're bringing people together, and that's to me what I love. And in terms of big goals, like the Disney-esque, let's say, planning. So yeah, as of recording, this is ahead of Icon 2025, and so I'm excited to meet so many of my guests in person for the first time. I have met a few people maybe in passing in person, especially those in our local area. I did get a chance to go to Icon 2022, so there's some people like I've seen, and and I like being able to vlog various things. So there's some people I've gone back through my footage. It's like, oh hey, I ran into that person. Who knew? That I met a few years later. But I would love to meet a whole bunch of people in person. I'm very excited for that. But I also would love to, as I continue growing this community, make this an environment where we can truly get to know each other. And I'm very excited to see what the possibilities, are as we continue forward. I mean, this is episode 130, and now with speaking with you, I've now spoken to half of the United States, 25 states. So
Wow.
I'm excited to see what's to come.
That's excellent. I hope you can get like a group photo or something like that with everybody that's been on your show. That'd be great.
Oh my gosh, I would love that. So a few months ago, long before I knew I was going to attend Icon, someone had said, if you end up, attending that, you should do like an in-person episode or something. It's like, that would be so cool. And even now, less than about a month away, I still have absolutely no idea how I would manage to do that. But I'm determined to at least try. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited to see how that's going to how it's going to turn out, and I'm just glad I even have a chance to attend Icon, just because of how close it is, about 4 hours away.
That's awesome. Yeah, I hope that you will, because I think that'd be great opportunity. Bring in some more eyes to that as well, and ears.
Thank you so much. But yeah, I have absolutely enjoyed, I mean, being able to to speak with you, and I hope that I was also able to help answer your questions.
Yeah, definitely. Really enjoyed this.
Awesome. And what does it mean for you to be a guest here on the show?
Well, I mean, it's just it's been so goodness, it's been great to talk to you first. But secondly, I just really wanted to take my own advice and just kind of, attack a new opportunity. This was, granted a little bit scary because I haven't done this before. And I was like, I don't know, but I think aspects of public speaking and podcasts are a little bit intimidating, but I kind of just told myself that this is something that I will never regret doing. So I might as well just kind of go for it. So, thankful for the opportunity. I'm thankful for you setting this up and following up with me with quite a few different emails and just, the tenacity I appreciate. And so, yeah, just really grateful to be here.
Likewise, I'm so glad that we're able to speak here. And so, in being able to look back at this in the future, do you have a message for your future self watching this?
Hmm. Thanks for pushing through. It was a rough day today, definitely. I mean, I had to take some Afrin. I've been a little bit stuffed. Um, and, it's just been a long week. I've been learning a lot of patience recently. And so yeah, just grateful that I pushed through, and grateful for the opportunity, and yeah, just thankful to be here.
I love that. As I have begun saying earlier this year, is sometimes you have to take time for yourself, or the time will take you.
It's true. That's very true. I mean, you are forever your greatest asset, and you know, you gotta put yourself in situations to grow. You know, there's all kinds of parables about it, right? But you know, you grow where you're planted, and if you don't try difficult things, then your roots don't go as deep. And so I think it's really important to put yourself outside of your comfort zone and to try things. And to some, this might not seem like a hard thing. To me, this did. So here we are. But I'm gonna grow roots, and I think that's a good opportunity. And I, of course, appreciate the platform, and I appreciate that you've taken your time out of your day to be here. So yeah.
I love that. And if you had to give a name to the discussion that we just have, what would you call this discussion?
Growing pains. I think that's probably the title I would give it. I think that there's so much to dive into with that. There is so much. They're both necessary. Embrace it. I don't know if you ever heard the term "embrace the suck." Sometimes you just have to. There are so many opportunities early in your career that you can take on something that you might not get immediate results. You just won't, but that's okay. Embrace it. Take it as an opportunity and grow with the pain.
I love that sentiment. And if anyone would like to continue tuning into your story or follow you online, whatever the case may be, where are the best places for them to do so?
Yeah, for sure. LinkedIn, great place. Cal Zweigel, Zweigle. And then, if you really want to, I have Instagram as well, cal.zwe. So you can request to follow if you'd like to. But LinkedIn's probably the best place to go. Feel free to connect with me, and I would be happy to talk with you.
I love that. And last but certainly not least, I'll allow you to go ahead and close out this episode with whatever be a life lesson, inspirational thought, favorite quote, whatever the case may be. The floor is all yours, Cal.
All right. This is a quote. Look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. The ever affable Mr. Rogers.
I love that. Thank you so much, friends, for tuning in to this episode. I greatly appreciate it, as always. This is episode 130, and I look forward to the next episode. Have a wonderful day, friends. I'll see you next time.